to bring the jury back in?
Before the jury enters, I've submitted to the court and to defense counsel state's proposed jury instructions regarding the redaction of the defendant's interview with Sanford police investigators, and also state's proposed jury instructions regarding the redaction of the defendant's interview with Sean Hannity. There are various interviews, and at some point these will be relevant. I believe the defense counsel has no objection, and I would just request that the court read this at the appropriate time, and I will alert the court with the court permission.
Okay, there is no objection to either one of these?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You'll let me know.
And one final thing, if I could, Mr. Romero and I met, I guess, late Friday. We had been meeting before in terms of redactions, but we have agreed to redactions that were made and will be part of the record of the actual exhibit, or some of the exhibits that will go in regarding the defendant's interview. I just want to put that on the record.
Sure. You may want to clear with the court what you intend to do and what's going in and what's not for audio, video, or...
Right. There are parts of the recordings of interviews with the defendant that, due to agreement by both sides, and obviously in terms of legal requirements, were excised out or redacted out.
And it is the redacted copies that are going to be introduced into evidence?
Correct, Your Honor. That is the only part that will be introduced into evidence. Some of them are audio and some of them are video. No, that's correct. There are transcripts, but they're not being introduced because you can understand what's being said.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to bring the jury in?
We are, Your Honor.
Okay, come on, we'll bring them in.
Jurors present, Your Honor.
Please be seated. The state will please call your next witness.
They would call Doris Singleton.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
You state your name for the record, please.
Doris Singleton, S-I-N-G-L-E-T-O-N.
What is your occupation, ma'am?
I'm a police officer of the Sanford Police Department.
And are you assigned to a particular unit?
I'm assigned to the Neighborhood Response Unit.
How long have you been with the Sanford Police Department?
December will be 9 years.
And what have been your previous assignments prior to the one you're in right now?
I've also been on road patrol. I've been a school resource officer. I've been an investigator with the narcotics unit.
Okay. How long were you an investigator with the narcotics unit?
About 3 to 4 years.
Okay. And how long have you been in your current position?
Since February.
Okay. Prior to that, were you with the narcotics unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And prior to being with the Sanford Police Department, did you have any law enforcement experience?
Out of college, many years ago, I was a parole officer for 2 years for the state.
Can you briefly tell us about your education background, ma'am?
I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Florida in criminal justice with a minor in legal studies.
Okay.
I also went to the probation officer academy. After college, that was in '92, and I've been to the police academy.
Okay.
And then we have
Okay.
training as we go along within the police department.
All right. I want to draw your attention back to February of last year, that is 2012. What was your assignment at that time?
I was assigned to the narcotics unit as an investigator.
I want to draw your attention to Sunday evening, February 26th of 2012. Were you on duty or off duty that evening?
I was off duty.
Did you get a call to assist an investigator regarding a shooting that occurred at the retreat at Twin Lakes?
Yes, I received a call from Sergeant Santiago.
Okay. And how was it that you were off duty? You got called to assist him, I guess? Did there need to be an additional investigator, or how did that come about?
Well, the sergeants within the investigative unit have an on-call status, and they take turns. So that particular week, Sergeant Santiago, who is my supervisor for the narcotics unit, was the on-call sergeant for any investigative call-outs. And so he called me to assist.
And were you assigned to assist investigator Chris Serino?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was he the lead investigator?
Chris Serino is the lead investigator, yes.
When you were called that evening, did you actually go to the crime scene itself, that is, to retreat at Twin Lakes, or did you go elsewhere?
I did not ever go out to the crime scene that night. I went straight to the police department.
And were you requested by somebody to go to the Sanford Police Department?
Yes, sir. I believe it was Sergeant Santiago that asked me to go there.
Okay. And for the purpose of doing what at the police department?
I wasn't told, I believe, until I got there.
Okay. So you were directed specifically not to go to the scene, but to go to the actual police department?
Yes, I believe at that time I was already told that Zimmerman was already en route to the police department. Of course, I didn't know his name at the time.
When you arrived at the Sanford Police Department, was George Zimmerman already present there?
Yes.
Okay. If you could, do you see George Zimmerman in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And
Yes, I
is
do. He's
that the
standing.
person that just stood up?
Yes, sir.
Trying to directly reflect the witness, identify the defendant?
Record will so reflect.
When you came into contact with the defendant, George Zimmerman, was he in an interview room, ma'am?
Yes, sir. George Zimmerman was in an interview room.
And were there any officers present there?
Not in the same room, but in a room where they could observe him. This particular interview room got a two-way mirrored glass where you can see into the room, but he wouldn't have been able to see out of the room. And Officer Adam Johnson and Officer Timmy Smith were there
Okay.
on the other side of the glass watching him.
Yes, ma'am. You briefly described the interview room. How big would you say it is about?
I would say it's maybe 8 feet by 5 feet. I'm not really good at measurement, so.
Okay. And is there a table and chairs in the interview room?
Yes, a table probably similar to the size of the table I'm sitting at now.
Okay. Did you end up talking to the defendant, George Zimmerman?
Yes, I did talk to him that night.
And was your interview with the defendant, George Zimmerman, recorded in any way, ma'am?
Yes, it was.
And can you briefly tell us how it was recorded?
It was recorded on just a voice recorder that they give us.
Okay. Does that room have the capability of video recording?
It does,
And can you tell us why it was not videotaped?
because I didn't know how to activate that system.
Now, even though by law an officer is not required to inform a person being interviewed that they're recording the interview, did you in fact inform the defendant that you were recording that interview?
I did inform him of that, and I placed also the recorder where he could see that it was being recorded as well.
Did you advise the defendant, George Zimmerman, of his constitutional rights, or what's referred to Miranda rights?
I did.
And did you use a form in doing that, ma'am?
Yes, I did.
Ma'am, I'm going to show you what's been introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 174. I believe there's no objection.
That's correct, thank you.
If I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
Me.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 174. Do you recognize said exhibit?
I do.
What do you recognize State's Exhibit 174 to be, ma'am?
This is the Miranda warning card that I read from that night, and that,
Constitutional rights, or Miranda rights, recorded as part of the recording that you took of the interview of the defendant.
yes, the reading of the rights as well as you can hear me having them sign it.
Okay. Did you ask the defendant whether he understood his rights, ma'am?
Yes, I did.
And did he indicate whether he did or not?
He said that he understood.
And did he agree to waive his rights and talk to you?
He did.
Did you ask him questions as part of the interview, and did he respond to your questions?
Yes.
Okay. At any time during the investigation, did you threaten the defendant in any way in order to get him to make a statement?
No, I did not.
At any time during the interview, did you promise him anything in order to get him to make a statement, ma'am?
No, I didn't promise him anything.
In your prior experience as a police officer in the Sanford Police Department, have you had occasion to come into contact with people under the influence of alcohol and or drugs?
Yes, very much.
Did the defendant appear to be under the influence of alcohol and or drugs to the point where he was incapable of understanding what was going on?
I did not get any indication that he was under any influence of anything.
When he spoke to you, did you have any problems understanding him when he spoke to you?
No, he spoke clearly.
And did he have any problems understanding you when you asked him questions?
He never said that he misunderstood anything I said to him.
When you came into contact with him, did you notice some injuries on him?
Yes.
Okay. And did you discuss those with him, whether he needed any medical treatment or not?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. And did he say he did need medical treatment?
He said that he didn't, from what I recall, when I first walked into the room. Later on in the interview, he said he was not sure.
Okay. And did you discuss that with him in terms of providing him an opportunity, if he so desired, to get medical treatment?
Yes.
And did he decline that?
Yes.
Okay. Did he complain of an injury when you were speaking of it, like, my head is, just, I can't think, I'm in pain, I just can't think? Did he ever express that to you?
No, he never said those things in that way.
If he had done so, would you have interrupted or stopped the interview and had him checked out in some way?
If he had asked at all, for any reason, no matter how he was showing himself, that he wanted to go to the hospital, I would have made that happen.
Ma'am, when you came into contact with him, was that the evening of February 26th of 2012, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recall approximately what time you came into contact with him?
Probably somewhere between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, but that would be a guess.
Okay. And when you first came into contact with the defendant, you described, did he have some blood on his nose?
He had crusted blood underneath his nose.
Okay. Did he also have some blood on the back of his head?
Yes, that was actively bleeding.
Okay. And did he use some tissues to stop that from bleeding?
Yes, we have a tissue box on the table in the interview rooms, and he was using those tissues.
Okay. Your Honor, this time I would formally move into evidence. I apologize. Let me make sure I've got the State's Exhibit 178, which is the defendant's interview with Miss Singleton, Officer Singleton. It's 178. I believe there's no objection.
Okay.
That's correct.
It'll come into evidence.
There is an instruction the court may address at some point.
Not as to this one. Ma'am, you've had an opportunity to review the recording that was taken of the defendant, the audio recording, is that correct?
The interviews with myself, yes.
Yes. Okay. The interview itself is you asking Mr. Zimmerman questions, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. During the interview that you conducted of Mr. Zimmerman, you had not been to the scene itself, to the shooting scene, is that correct?
No, I was not at the scene.
So you were not able to quiz him or to challenge him as to what he said because you were not aware of the facts, I'm assuming?
Yes, I essentially knew nothing going in to speak to him.
What was the purpose in terms of interviewing him then?
To get a statement from him.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, the date is February 22nd, 2012. It's Investigator Singleton. Sitting in an interview room at the Sanford Police Department with...
Now, just to make sure the record, you stated on that February 22nd. In fact, Mr. Zimmerman corrected you and pointed out that it was actually February 26th. Is that correct?
Yes, I misspoke. It was February 26th.
Okay, thank you. George
Michael Zimmerman, in reference to an event that happened out at 2831 Retreat View Circle. I'm going to read you your Miranda rights because obviously you're here, and you are free to go right now because we got to figure out what's going on. Sure. You haven't been charged with a crime yet, but you are here and you can't go until we figure out what really happened. And so I'm going to ask to talk to you about it, but I got to give you a Miranda warning so that you understand. Sure. Okay? Okay, you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to talk to me. Okay? Anything you say can't be used against you in court. Meaning, if you say something that proves your guilt, we can use it to prove your guilt. Okay, you understand that? Okay. You have the right to have an attorney present now or at any time during questioning. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you without any cost. Okay. If you talk to me, you have the right to stop answering questions or speak to an attorney at any time. Okay. Do you understand these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you want to talk to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What I need you to do here is put your signature and just date it.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is being recorded, this interview. Okay.
2/21.
2 January sales. Today is the 26th. And I'm going to sign right here. And I witness you sign this card. And I'll put the case number later because I know part of it, but I'm not sure. Okay. I haven't been out there, okay? So I just want you to tell me.
When you say you haven't been out there, what were you referring to, ma'am?
To the crime scene.
Thank you.
Before this incident, everything you know, why you were there, and all this stuff. First of all, did you live at this address here?
No.
Okay, so this address in your license that says 1874 Valleywood Way in Lake Mary, you no longer live there?
Correct.
Okay. Do you live in the complex or neighborhood where this occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is your address?
1950.
This is the correct one?
Yes, ma'am.
So you live at 1950 Retreat View Circle. I'm just going to keep quiet, and you tell me the story. You tell me what happened tonight, okay?
Just tonight.
Yeah, or whatever led up to this. Anything you want to tell me about what happened and why it ended up, what it ended up to where this boy got shot. Okay.
The neighborhood has had a lot of crimes. My wife saw our neighbors get broken into and she got scared.
Are you talking about the residents or vehicles?
The residents,
Okay.
while it was occupied. So I decided to start a neighborhood watch program in my neighborhood.
Okay, what is the name of the neighborhood?
Retreat at Twin Lakes.
Is it the little two-story condos or
The townhouses.
townhouses? Okay. Retreat
Retreat at Twin Lakes.
at Twin Lakes. Okay. Okay, you started a
Neighborhood watch.
neighborhood watch. Okay.
Wendy Dorval, Sergeant Hertz, Officer Buchanan, and I'm the coordinator. And there's been a few times where I've seen a suspicious person in the neighborhood. We call the police, the non-emergency line, and these guys always get away.
What made them suspicious?
This gentleman in particular, I'd never seen him in the neighborhood. I know all the residents. It was raining out, and he was leisurely walking, taking his time, looking at all the houses.
Okay.
When I drove by, he stopped and looked at me.
Had you seen him before?
No.
Never? Okay.
I know all the kids in my neighborhood, all the adults in my neighborhood. And like I said, it was raining, and he was just walking, casually, not like he was trying to get out of the rain.
Tell us what happened right there.
Sergeant Santiago was still at the crime scene, and he had chirped my Nextel phone,
Okay.
and he wanted me to find out from George if there was, he wanted to find out from George Zimmerman and wanted me to ask him if there was any phone numbers or contact persons that he could locate or give information on to see if there was video surveillance of the gate as to which cars come through the gate.
Okay.
Minute interview. Yes.
Is that Sergeant Santiago asking you something, and that's why it's not clearly coming out on the recording?
Right, because it's coming into my phone and I have the phone to my ear.
Okay. And he's asking you if there's a tape or video at the gate as far as viewing the cars coming in and out?
Yes, he wants me to find out from George Zimmerman if he knows that information.
Okay.
You know if there's any tape or recordings of vehicles that come in and out of that neighborhood?
Last time they were down, the cameras were
It has
broken.
the ability, but you don't know if it's running.
Correct.
He says they do have video, but he doesn't know if it's working right now because last he knew it wasn't working. Do you know who the contact is for that video?
Leland Management in Orlando. And his name is Kent Taylor.
Okay. What are we talking about there in terms of contact? Somebody that be able to, well, tell me what you mean by that.
My question to George was if he knew somebody who could get that information that Santiago was asking for. Sergeant Santiago wanted to know who could he contact in order to find out how to get the surveillance from a camera if it existed.
So you're asking the defendant in terms of a contact person so Santiago can contact that person?
Right, I guess he would assume that George would know, being part of the neighborhood watch, and
Okay.
he would know who to contact for that type of surveillance video.
Thank you.
Kent Taylor. You don't have
I
it.
did my cell phone.
What is Mr. Zimmerman doing now? Actually looking through his cell phone, the defendant?
Yes, if at some point I go out of the room and I come back in and I give him the phone so that he can look up the phone number that Sergeant Santiago is requesting.
Okay. Meaning, phone meaning the defendant's phone, Mr. Zimmerman's phone?
Yes, his cell phone.
Okay.
It's Leland Management. So for Leland Management in Orlando, the contact person is Kent Taylor, but he doesn't have the phone number on him.
When Sergeant Santiago asked you to find out the 43, what did he mean by that?
Get the information. 43 is just a 10 code for information. But I haven't gone out of the room yet,
Okay.
based on what I just heard.
Okay.
Sometimes they have you do this. Do you know where your cell phone is right now?
They took it from me.
With these officers? Okay. I'll be right back. Would you mind getting his phone number
No.
off your phone if you have it?
Now, at this point, are you asking the defendant to find or look in his phone and get the phone number that he just talked about?
Yes, I went and retrieved the phone, brought it back to the room, handed it to him, and asked him if he wouldn't mind looking up the phone number that was being requested.
That's his email. 407-781-1181. HOA president might also know.
Okay, what's his name?
Don, D-O-N, is 407-790-0054. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
What's going on now? Are you relaying that information to Sergeant Santiago?
Yes, I believe I walked out of the room and relayed that information to him through my Nextel outside of the room.
So even though you walked out of the room, the recording was still going on?
Yes, the recorder remained inside the room.
I apologize about that. Okay. Let's get back to where you were. Okay, you started a neighborhood watch group.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and
I had called before the police had come out, but these guys know the neighborhood very well. They would cut in between buildings and loot.
you're saying these guys, who are these guys?
The people committing the burglaries.
So you've seen more than one person, like, looking suspicious and doing these burglaries?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. But you never had seen this guy prior to tonight, or you don't
I
know?
don't recall. I've
Okay.
called a few times. I think you guys probably have the records.
Okay.
I've probably called a half a dozen times.
Okay.
And this time, I was leaving to go to the grocery store, and like I said, I saw him walking in the neighborhood, in front of the same house that I had called the police before to come to, because this guy leaves his doors unlocked and stuff. And he was walking leisurely and looking at the houses, and so I just pulled my car to the side and I called the non-emergency line.
Were you armed at this point?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
were already armed, okay.
Yes, ma'am. I called the non-emergency line and I just reported that there was a suspicious person in the neighborhood. The dispatcher or whoever answered the phone asked me where they went, and I said I wasn't sure because I lost visual of him when he went in between the houses. And he said, well, can you tell me what direction he went? And I said, not really. And then all of a sudden I see him circling my car. And then he goes back into the darkness. So
Do you remember, you pull out of your house and you're heading down the road as you're looking at him.
yes, ma'am.
You're on the phone and he dips between two houses, is that what you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you lose sight of him, okay.
Correct. And then he comes back out and circles my car while I'm on the phone with the police.
Okay, is he saying anything to you?
I couldn't hear. My windows were up.
Okay.
As soon as I saw him coming up, I rolled up my windows and I stayed on the phone with dispatch.
Okay, your car was running?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
lights were on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you knew somebody was in this car?
Yes, ma'am.
And is he walking completely around the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And dispatch asked me where he went. I didn't know the name of the street that I was on.
So you'd come off your street and got into another street?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point,
That
okay.
goes in, cuts through the middle of my neighborhood.
Okay.
I didn't know the name of the street, or for where he went. So I got out of my car to look for the street sign and to see if I could see where he cut through so that I could tell.
So after you circled your car, he disappeared again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Then dispatcher told me, where are you? And I said, I'm trying to find out where he went. And he said, we don't need you to do that. And I said, okay. He said, we already have a police officer en route. And I said, all right. And I had gone through the dog walk where I normally walk my dog, and walked back through to my street, the street that loops around. And he said, we already have a police officer on the way. So I said, okay. They said, would you like a police officer to meet you? And I said, yes. And I told them where my car was and the make and the model. Mm-hmm. So I was walking back through to where my car was, and he jumped out from the bushes, and he said, what the fuck's your problem, homie? And I got my cell phone out to call 911 this time. And I said, hey man, I don't have a problem. And he goes, no, now you have a problem. And he punched me in the nose. At that point, I fell down. I tried to defend myself. He just started punching me in the face. And I started screaming for help. I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe. Then he started taking my
And you're
head.
still standing at this point?
No ma'am,
Okay.
I fell to the ground.
Okay.
And then I started yelling help. When I started yelling for help, he grabbed my head and he started hitting my head into the... I tried to sit up and yell for help. And then he grabbed my head and started hitting it into the sidewalk. When he started doing that, I slid into the grass to try and get out from under him, and so that he would stop hitting my head into the sidewalk. And I'm still yelling for help. And I could see people looking, and some guy yells out, I'm calling 911. And I said, help me, he's killing me. And he puts his hand on my nose and on my mouth. And he says, you're going to die tonight. And I don't remember much after that. I just remember I couldn't breathe, and then he still kept trying to hit my head against the pavement, or I don't know if there was a sign or what it was. So when I slid, my jacket and my shirt came up. And when he said, you're going to die tonight, I felt his hand go down on my side, and I thought he was going for my firearm. So I grabbed it immediately, and as he banged my head again, I just pulled out my firearm and shot him.
Okay. And then what happened? You're both on the ground?
I'm
He's
on my
top
back,
of you?
he's on top of me.
Okay.
He's mounted on top of me. And I just shot him, and then he falls off, and he's like, all right, you got it.
Does he fall to the side and he stays laying on the ground, or does...
I don't remember.
Okay.
My vision was blurry. And
You didn't feel him fall towards you? He somehow ended up to one side or the other, or you don't know?
I don't remember. I think when I shot him, it might have pushed him back. But I remember, I didn't know what he was hitting. It felt like he was hitting me with bricks. So I remember once I shot him, I holstered my firearm and I got on top of him and I held his hands on him because he was still talking. And I said, stay down, don't move. And then somebody comes out, and I couldn't see, there was a flashlight in my head, so I asked if it was a police officer. And he said no, it was a witness, but he was calling the police. And I said, the police are on the way, they should be here already, because I had called.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm calling the police. And I said, I don't need you to call the police, I need you to help me with this guy. And then an officer shows up. Again, he had the flashlight, so I couldn't see him. And he asked me, who shot this guy? And I said, I did. And I immediately put my hands on top of my head, and I told the police officer where my firearm was.
Okay.
And then he handcuffed me and took my firearm.
Okay, after you shot him, he said, you got me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you got on top of him, did he say anything else?
He said, ow, ow.
And he was, okay. You said you had walked back there
Yes, ma'am.
to try to find out where he went. And you were already on the phone with dispatch at that point? Because you said you called them from your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the whole time you were on the phone
Yes,
with
ma'am.
dispatch? Were you still on the phone with him when he jumped out? And,
No.
okay, you had hung up?
Yes.
Okay. Did someone else call before the shot? He said he was already calling, right? Or while he was hitting you, you said you heard someone say, I'm calling?
Yes.
I'm calling, okay. So someone else might have been on the phone
Yes, ma'am.
with dispatch while you were being beat up?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had never seen this guy before?
I don't recall. It's always dark. They always come around nighttime. And
What did he look like?
African American, early 20s, late teens. He was taller than me, so I'd say 6. Footish, slender wore jeans.
It was all dark colored stuff?
No, the hoodie was gray and the sweatpants were like, maybe like a denim color, like stonewash denim.
What was his hairstyle? Did he have short
He
hair?
had the
Did
hood on.
dreads, or so you couldn't see?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. How's your head?
I can't feel it.
Okay, and who told you? You said when I came in here, they said someone told you you broke your nose. They told you that. They told you that. Okay. Did you need to go to the hospital?
I don't know. They said I didn't, but I don't know.
Is this bump? I can't tell what's normal for you. Can you see? Can you see?
I can't.
Like right here? Does this right here? Does that look like a contusion there of some sort, or is that the normal shape of your head?
No, it's not normal.
Okay, because it looks swollen there. Can I see the other side? Okay, I'm gonna get him.
Are you examining the sides of his head at that time?
I've stood up and come to his side of the table so that I can see all sides of his head.
Okay, the person who said I'm calling for you. Did you recognize that person? Okay, so you don't know if that was a resident or?
They were looking out of their back patio.
Okay, so it was somebody that was looking from a residence saying that
Yes,
they were
ma'am.
calling? Okay, did you see more than just that person, or?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that person said, I'm calling.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, nobody came over to assist in pulling them off. And you were between two houses when this happened?
Behind the houses.
You were behind the houses?
It's a row of houses, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it was a row of houses, and you had gone back behind, and then you were on your way back
Yes, ma'am.
out? Okay. Was it one of the houses along the wall? I don't know if
No,
this
ma'am.
happened, so.
No, would you like me to draw it?
Yeah, sure.
The neighborhood is kind of like a square, like this, and then there's a row of houses here. This is the wall, and there's houses here, and then there's another row of houses here, and this is houses. I parked my car here, the mailbox is here. He went through this dog walk here, and you can either go down the sidewalk here between this row of houses, or you can go straight through to this street. So this is asphalt. I'm sorry, my hands. This is asphalt, and so I walked straight through to see if there was a street sign that I could tell dispatch where I lost sight of him at. And when I walked back, that's when he came out of the darkness, and I guess he was upset that I called the police.
So this is behind the house that he comes out of the darkness?
Yes,
Behind the
ma'am.
building? Okay. And you said there's some bushes or something that
Yes,
you may
ma'am.
have came out of? Okay.
Because when I walked past, I didn't see him down here. So I walked through to make sure, I looked to make sure he wasn't there.
Right.
And then I walked straight through to see a street sign. And then when I came back, obviously he was waiting somewhere.
Okay. And where is your cell phone? Where was your cell phone? Had you already had it back in your pocket at that point, or did it get dropped, or what happened with your cell phone?
No, I had it in my hand. When I put it, and they said, would you like the police officer to meet you? And I said, yes, my car's there.
And that's when they disconnected with you?
Yes, ma'am.
That's when they said, okay, they're on scene, okay.
Yes, ma'am. So I did. I put my cell phone away.
Okay.
And then when I walked back towards him, I saw him coming at me, and I went to grab my phone. I don't remember if I had time to pull it out or not.
Okay, you attempted to try to recall that.
To call the police.
Call the police, right. 911
this time, because the first time I called 911.
But you're not sure if you actually got it out of your pocket or not?
I don't recall.
Okay. And that's when he slugged you?
He just hit me, yeah.
And what did he say before that? You said he asked you like something about, you got a problem?
He said, you got a problem with me? And I said, I don't have a problem. And he said, now you have a problem.
Okay.
and that's when he hit me.
And he struck you in the nose first,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's what knocked you down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're saying this is behind the buildings though?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you sure, is it a patio that he's hitting? Because you said he's hitting your head on a sidewalk.
No, it's the sidewalk.
Okay, there's a sidewalk behind?
Yes,
the
ma'am.
buildings?
It's a
Okay.
dog walk.
Okay.
And this is a row of houses, and this is a row of houses, and this is the dog walk.
Okay.
So I walk back here. He
So the
hit me.
dog walk is cement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so he's hitting your head.
Yes, ma'am. As I went to sit up, then he grabbed me by the front of my head and started banging into the...
And that's when you can look either to your left or right and you can see this guy? And you're saying, help me?
I don't remember. I screamed, help me, probably 50 times as loud as I could.
Okay. But at some point you could visually see that there was someone
Yes, ma'am.
saying something to you from
Yes,
a
ma'am.
patio? Okay. Do you remember what that person looked like? Okay, and the police got there
Yes, ma'am.
and you were holding him down
Yes, ma'am.
and they asked you,
No, once the police got there, I got on my feet. Because there was another person that got there, I guess a resident. I couldn't see, he had a flashlight, so I thought it was a police officer.
and at that point you stood up and got off him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then when the police got there, I was already standing up, and I put my hands on top of
So we're talking about seconds between the time you see the flashlight and the police show up, or was it a little bit?
It seemed like a while, but I'm sure it was seconds.
Okay. And they put you at gunpoint?
I don't know. I had my back. I put my hands on my head and I turned my back to him immediately.
Okay. What were they saying to you, the police?
He said, who shot him? And I said, I did.
Okay. That's when you did this?
Yes, ma'am. And I said, I have my gun on my right side in my holster in my waistband. And he said, I know you do. He goes, but I have to handcuff you first. And I said, I just wanted to make sure, I'm not going for my firearm.
Okay.
And he put my arms out and handcuffed me.
And then where did they take you?
Here.
They just put you right in the police car right away?
No, EMS put peroxide on my head. And I think they put peroxide on my face to get the blood off.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else I haven't asked you or you haven't said that you think is important for me to know? Okay. And you said you're in charge of the neighborhood watch group? Okay. And you were just, but you weren't doing it that night, or is it
No.
that you were just going to the store, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And driving out and you happen to see this kid and you want to check out with him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure he's okay. Okay. Well, actually, you did the right thing. You called the police
Yes, ma'am.
to have them check out. You just noticed them. Okay. Is that normally what you guys do when you see someone suspicious? You just call?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't try to make contact with them? Okay. All right.
Doing that interview, there was an indication, it appears that he was drawing something. Is that correct?
Yes, there was a pad in there, and he attempted to draw the location where it occurred.
Did you subsequent to that actually use a Google map to get him to actually draw on that to demonstrate exactly what happened?
Yes, it wasn't clear to me, and I was confused as to where it actually happened and how the neighborhood was set up, so I went and I got a printout of the Google map of the entire neighborhood and had him show me exactly what he was talking about using the map.